Hey there, I'm Kat and this is Brews and Reviews. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys a wrap-up of the first 10 books that I read in 2023. If you follow me or have seen my videos before, then you probably know that I stick to a monthly wrap-up format, and I've decided to change that for 2023. Because I've introduced my reading quest / TBR game for myself that is moving away from doing things on a monthly basis, I've decided why not do the same for my wrap-up. So from now on, I'm going to be giving you guys a wrap-up every 10 books that I read. Hopefully that should actually make my life easier in terms of editing and mean that I can get videos out to you guys quicker. Because let's be honest, when I read a lot in a month and I have to edit that video, I get real sad inside because I can't speak properly. You guys are so lucky that you don't have to see the raw footage of me trying to talk, because it's really, really not good. I'm really, really bad at actually expressing myself. So, having a shorter video, a video every 10 books that I've read, should hopefully help me be able to get videos to you in a more timely manner. Of course, the funniest thing about that is that I had a pretty bad reading month in January, so this is essentially coming out around the same time that my January wrap-up would have come out anyway, but this is not the total number of books that I read in January. Another quick thing to mention is that this year I'm also trying out half stars. Only for 3.5 stars and 4.5 stars. For 1 and 2, I feel like I am very firmly rooted in my belief that it should be like 1 or 2. But like 3 and 3.5, 4 and 4.5, I want to sort of distinguish between those a little bit more. So you will start seeing those ratings in my wrap-ups now. I'm kind of excited. I quite like this variation that I'm throwing into this year. Trying some new things should be fun. So of these 10 books that I'm going to talk to you guys about today, 7 of them were audiobooks, which I was reading along with some of them with the physical books that I've got as well, and 3 of them were ebooks. So let's get into this. The first book that I read was Wondersmith by Jessica Townsend. This is the second book in the Nevermore series? I don't know what that series is called. Morrigan Crow? Anyway, it's the sequel to Nevermore, which I read in December and I really enjoyed, and I decided to pick up Wondersmith straight away because I thought I often put off sequels to series and it would be a good idea to actually just go straight into it and read this one. So without going into too much detail about the plot of this book, as it ruins some things from the first book, Nevermore is a middle grade book about a girl called Morrigan Crow who is cursed to die on her 12th birthday, and a mysterious individual called Jupiter North comes and saves her right before she is doomed to die and whisks her off to this magical world where it's a lot of fun and a lot of whimsical things that just really satisfy like a deep part of me in sort of childhood nostalgia almost. It's not nostalgic because I didn't read it when I was a child, but it ticks boxes for me, so I just really enjoy the world. So Wondersmith continues on from where the first book left off, and while I give this one 4 out of 5 stars, which is the same rating that I gave Nevermore, I actually think I preferred this one to Nevermore simply because Jupiter North annoys me less in this one. He's still very bad at answering questions, but the questions that he's not answering are not life-threatening towards the main character. Like in the first book, it really bugged me, and it bugged me less in this one. I also like that there were some really creepy things that happened in this one. Like there's like a dark market and also like a really creepy museum that I don't want to spoil for anyone that hasn't read it, but I really enjoyed that, and I was like, oh, this is taking a turn, and I quite like this turn. So yeah, I enjoyed this book and I'm really glad that I read it. I'm definitely looking forward to reading Hollowpox. The next book that I read was Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is the first book in the Brown Sisters trilogy, and it follows a woman called Chloe Brown who has a near-death experience one day and decides that she needs to get a life. So she makes herself a list and writes down all of these things that she would like to do to get a life, essentially. And it is just really fun. I really enjoy the characters in this. Chloe lives with fibromyalgia, and I just thought that representation was done so well. And if you've ever felt what it's like to run out of spoons and just not be able to do the day anymore, then I just feel like, yeah, you should probably pick this book up. I also really liked Red. The romance was good. Like, it was a bit of spice in it, and that was also good. I just really like this series. This isn't even my favourite book in the series that I've read so far, but I love it, and I am so glad that I read it, because it's so good. I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars, and I'm really glad that the sister-along readathon is happening, because I don't think I'd have picked this one up quite as soon as I did, so I'm really happy about that. The next book that I picked up is called Disharmony by Holly Bloom. Having recently finished the Lapland Underground series and really enjoying that, I decided to try out something else written by Holly Bloom, and Disharmony had a plot that I just really couldn't refuse. So it is a why choose romance that is very angsty, and it is essentially like if Camp Rock were for of-age characters with 3 masked guys in a band. I mean, how could I not read that? So when I first picked it up, I wasn't really sure how I was going to feel about it, and the main character did come across a little bit like not like other girls, which is a bit annoying, and sometimes the love interests are a little bit annoying too, but I don't know, there's something about it. It was part of their personalities and I did really enjoy it, and as per usual, the smut is really good. And I really need the next book. It's coming out in a couple of months and I'm just sitting here waiting, and there was also a nice little cameo from some characters from the Lapland Underground series and I was like, yay! Because this is kind of a prequel because it's about one of the characters from Lapland Underground's favourite bands, and it was just really good. I really had a good time with it, and I read like the whole end bit all at once and I really enjoyed it. So I give this one 4 out of 5 stars. I'm going to talk about the next 2 books together as they are part of the same series. First we have Illuminae and then we have Gemina, both by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. So this is a series that I'm sure pretty much everyone on BookTube knows a lot about. It's a sci-fi multimedia series and it's just so good. I cannot tell you how glad I am that I decided to reread these and pick them up, because I was a little bit worried that they weren't going to stand up to my memory of them, but I really enjoyed it. I could read them again right now. So without spoiling anything about Gemina, Illuminae is about a group of people who live on an illegal mining colony on this planet that gets attacked by a rival mining company's invasion force. They blow a lot of the planet up and a lot of people flee on these spaceships. So we're following the people who are actively running away from this planet and being chased by a big spaceship. It's not a very good time for the people who are running away from Carenza because 1, they are being chased and threatened with death on the daily. The military AI is really not having a great time, and I love him. And also there may be a virus upon one of the ships. I just find this book so good, and it like emotionally hits me every time, and there's like scary bits. I don't know if it's because I was like reading it and listening to the audiobook at the same time, but it was just so atmospheric and I just really enjoyed it. And just to say a little bit about Gemina, this one has creepy mind control space worms and military people taking over a spaceship and, you know, civilians fighting back, which is fun. Also some other stuff that I really can't mention, but I'd totally forgotten happened in this book, and I was like, whoa, I totally didn't remember that happened. So that was really good to come across. I gave both of those 5 out of 5 stars and nobody's surprised. The next book that I picked up was The Fuller Memorandum by Charles Stross. This is book 3 in the Laundry Files series, and this series follows a guy called Bob who has been enlisted to work in the laundry, which is like a British secret service for dealing with all things paranormal. So this includes things like Lovecraftian monsters, demon cults, and this book was really good. This one was about a cult and had some dangerous dealings going on. I mean, I just feel really sorry for Bob. He's like constantly dealing with the end of the world and various different things in this book. He just doesn't have a good time. I really can't say anything without spoiling it and going into too much detail, which is kind of annoying to try and describe. But I say this every time I try and describe the Laundry Files. If you enjoy mocking workplace culture, because it really does take the mick out of bureaucracy, and it just makes my heart happy a little bit because I hate bureaucracy that much. So I gave this one 4.5 out of 5 stars, my first 4.5 in this new system, and I'm really glad because it just didn't quite hit 5 stars, but I think it was better than like generic 4-star rating, so that's why it landed there. The next book that I decided to pick up was another reread, and that was A Vow of Lust and Fury by L.P. Lovell. Slight change of pace. This one is a forced marriage-ish mafia romance with like the who hurt you trope. Yeah, I really enjoyed it the second time around too. I mostly reread this one so that I could read its sequel because I felt like I was going into the sequel not really remembering what had happened. And the first book does end on such a cliffhanger that I really feel like I needed to read these sort of back-to-back, or like at least closer than a year between the first and second book. So I am really glad that I picked this one up. I enjoyed it just as much the second time round. The smut is good. It's good smut, so I enjoyed it very much. Next up I picked up Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This one I picked up because I was going to the Leigh Bardugo author event in Birmingham, and I was like, I really need a refresh of what happens in this book because it's been a while. It's been 3 years since I read this book, and I really needed to pick it up because otherwise I would have no idea where I was coming from in listening to her speak about Hellbent. Side note, the author event was great, and I just really enjoy listening to Lee speak. I think she's very, very charismatic, and it was just a very fun evening up until I fell down the stairs. And then when I met Lee to get a book signed, told her about it. Just know I am still dying inside. But on another note, I did get to meet the lovely Chloe from Chloe Reads Books, so that was really nice. That was like a nice little added touch to the night. So yes, let's talk about what I thought of Ninth House. So this is another reread for me, and this one follows a girl called Alex Stern who gets the chance to come and join Yale as part of one of the secret societies there, as she has the ability to see greys, which are essentially like dead people spirit type things. It was still good. I really enjoyed it, and I think perhaps my rating this time was affected by how I'd chosen to read this, because I was doing this as a buddy read with some of my friends who don't read quite as quickly as I do, and we were doing 2 chapters a day. So I found the start of this book really quite slow, and the end half of this book I had read like in a chunk on my own, so I enjoyed that a lot more, and I feel like perhaps how I read it did affect how I experienced this book, but I did really enjoy it. I just found slow start, and then it sped up right up at the end, and there was some really, really interesting stuff, and it was great. It had a level of darkness that I really enjoyed, and I just really want the women in this book to kick ass and take names. I did end up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars, which is a downgrade of 1 star from the first time I read it, but I think that is mostly to do with how I read it and how I experienced it. Book number 9 is one that I am super excited to tell you guys about. It's Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. Not Travis Balder, as I have said in every video up until this point, until I actually read his name on the cover and realised that it is not indeed Travis Balder. It is Travis Baldree. I don't know why I thought it was Travis Balder, but it's not. So if I've ever said that in the past, I was wrong. Anyway, this book is a cozy fantasy with low stakes. It's about an orc who just decided to give up her fighting days and open up a coffee shop in a small town. And it's about the different people who come together in the community to help her build this shop and help her make it a success, and it's just so cute. It's so cozy. This is like, if you want to relax into something, like you just need to sit down in like a cozy blanket with a hot water bottle and just feel like brain happy. It's like a comfort movie, but comfort book, I guess. Like, it's like I'm explaining this really poorly, but it just has those vibes that just make me really happy, and I can see myself picking this book up again and just enjoying it. It just feels like the kind of book that I could pick up if my mind didn't want to pick anything up. So I am really glad that I read this. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I really enjoyed it. And then on to the last book that I'm going to wrap up in this video, and that is Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark. It is a forced marriage, enemies to lovers, mafia romance book. And I can tell you that one of the reasons that I picked this up is that somebody posted about this book and said that the main female character learns that the guy that she's supposed to marry is allergic to strawberries and tries to poison him when they have their first kiss at their wedding. So that's fun. I like that kind of, I will actually try and murder you, enemies to lovers. So I was intrigued, and I thought I would pick it up. I would advise only going into this book if you're okay with reading like a modern character voice, because some of the things that the characters think are a little bit like, Gen Z thought this, didn't they? And there's a lot of pop culture references, so if you're looking for something that's removed from pop culture, definitely don't pick this book up. It's not for you. I really like the 2 main characters and how they have like one of them is fiery and one of them is like cold, sort of dynamic, and I just think they worked really well together, and I definitely continue on with this series, even though they're not like the main characters. It is a companion series, but there's quite a few books in it. I check it out. And I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. So those are the first 10 books that I read in 2023. And if you like this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!